This is KGW News at 11.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Brittany Folgers. It's a project Oregon and Washington have been talking about for decades. How to best replace the I-5 bridge between the two states. Tonight, a Portland neighborhood in the shadow of the bridge raised their concerns about the latest version of the project. Our Christelle Kumwe heard from residents on Hayden Island and got an update on how close we could be to construction.
The project to replace the aging interstate bridge is now in year 3.
One of the bridges is 105 years old, the other is 64 years old.
Greg Johnson heads the Interstate Bridge Replacement Program, the bi-state committee charged with replacing an old, out-of-date I-5 bridge that's bound to collapse during a major earthquake.
Both bridges are old and are considered functionally obsolete.
It's no small project to replace a bridge that is part of a major interstate freeway connecting Oregon and Washington across the Columbia River. Last March, the Washington legislature put up $1 billion to help fund construction.
And we'll be going before the Oregon legislature in the 2023 session for a similar ask of $1 billion.
Hey, government. Take a beat, take a pause. Let's rethink this before it goes to the Oregon legislature.
Befriend is part of the Hayden Island Neighborhood Network.
We're really concerned about how it's going to impact the livability of the island, economic, access-wise, physically, our commute times.
The group held a meeting Monday night to share their thoughts on the project with others in the community.
We fear that we're going to be an island covered by the shadow of this giant bridge. And are we going to just have more tent encampments underneath?
We are trying to listen well, and we're trying to hear the community.
Johnson was also in the room discussing the matter in hopes of finding common ground.
And making sure that folks understand there is no perfect solution that makes everyone 100% happy. But we're listening, and we're trying to incorporate as much of the comments from the public that is feasible to get this thing done.
Johnson says by next fall they hope to publish documentation to summarize environmental impacts of the project. Construction of the bridge itself won't start until at least mid-2025. Brittany?
All right, Christelle, thank you. And now let's get you caught up on tonight's other headlines. Crews are making progress on a landslide on Highway 30, but expect disruptions to continue. The slide is about 20 miles east of Astoria and shut down a section of the road. ODOT opened one lane over the weekend, but that lane will only stay open at night. During the day, all lanes will be shut down between 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. so that the cleanup can continue. If you drive there when the lane is open, watch out for flaggers and expect delays. The U.S. Postal Service is now offering a $5,000 reward in the search for a man who attacked a mail carrier. It happened last Wednesday in Portland's Overlook neighborhood near North Willamette and Gay Avenue. A homeowner and the mail carrier were chasing after a package thief when that thief pepper sprayed them. Both are okay, but the thief got away. Unfortunately, there's only a vague description of the suspect, who's about 5'9" with a slim build. Portland police are now investigating a suspicious death in the Lloyd district as a homicide. PPB said they found the body of 56-year-old Jesse Ray Burns Jr. inside a structure fire on November 27th on North Thunderbird Way. A medical examiner later revealed that he died from smoke inhalation. They're asking anyone with information on his death to call Portland police. In less than 2 weeks, the man known as the Jogger Rapist will walk out of prison. Richard Gilmore will be assigned to transitional housing in Northwest Portland. You might recall Gilmore confessed to attacking 9 girls and women back in the 70s and 80s. But due to the statute of limitations rule at the time, Gilmore was convicted of only one of those rapes, the rape of a 13-year-old girl. Gilmore would go on to spend more than 3 decades behind bars, but come December 16th, he'll walk out of prison as a low-risk offender because of a recent risk assessment. Gilmore's victim, Danielle Tudor, says he should be considered higher risk. She thinks he'll reoffend.
We spent this weekend putting up cameras, Ring doorbell, all sorts of other stuff, and getting them a monitored security system. Because I take that threat that seriously. So, we knew this day was coming, but it is very surreal and it is very scary.
Because he'll be released as a low-risk offender, the community won't get updates on exactly where he's living, but he will be on active supervision for at least 3 years. Now to an update on Oregon's new landmark gun control measure. A federal judge could delay the permit requirement for gun purchases by 2 months. It's part of Measure 114, which voters passed in November. Evan Watson explains why both sides of a lawsuit over these gun laws are now asking for a delay.
Oregon's new gun control laws, part of Measure 114, face multiple lawsuits and challenges. But before those are decided in federal court, a key part of the measure may be delayed by 2 months. Oregon's Attorney General is now asking a federal judge to delay the law enforcement permit requirement for new gun purchases. The AG says postponing the permit requirement by approximately 2 months should give Oregon law enforcement the time to have a fully functional permitting system in place. If the judge agrees to the postponement, then starting in February, anyone who purchases a gun in Oregon will be required to have a permit. On Friday, a lawyer for the Attorney General's office said he realized the challenges of implementing Measure 114 quickly.
We certainly recognize that sheriff's offices have different capacities and different enforcement priorities.
Today, Eugene Police Chief Chris Skinner, who also leads the Oregon Association Chiefs of Police, said that municipalities still need to work out staffing, training, technology, firearm aptitude tests, and importantly, create and vet a permit to purchase a gun that's used statewide.
What's the uniformed application look like? It needs to look the same. And as of today, we have not fully decided or even really vetted an application.
Skinner says law enforcement agencies have a sense of the process that's needed, but the specifics of how it's going to work are still very uncertain.
When the December 8th deadline was communicated to us, I think we all collectively panicked because as chiefs and as a chief here in Eugene, this is about trying to put together a really robust, understandable, simple, consistent, equitable process for people. And we're just not in a space where we're going to meet that deadline on December 8th, which is this Thursday.
The Attorney General's letter to the federal judge says other parts of Measure 114 should take effect as planned on Thursday, including restrictions on large capacity magazines and the requirement that background checks must be completed before guns can be transferred. The federal judge plans to rule on a lawsuit that could block Measure 114 sometime this week. Evan Watson, KGW News.
A new audit of Oregon high schools and their progress shows graduation rates are improving, but they are still lagging behind nationally. The audit released today focused on the high school success program. It was approved by voters in 2016. The goal is to use funding to focus on dropout prevention, career and technical education, and college opportunities. In Washington, they're looking for ways to help students as well, and this could involve a drastic change to the traditional school schedule. Students would still go to school for the required 180 days a year, but their breaks would be shorter and more frequent. The traditional summer break, for example, could be reduced to 6 weeks, but in exchange, students would get multiple full weeks off at several other points in the year. The goal is to reduce the learning loss that happens during a long summer vacation. It's an idea that they're considering in the Mount Vernon School District, though it is still in the discussion phase.
I would hope that if we think, before we say, gosh, this is a great idea, or if we say, gosh, this is a bad idea, I just want us to be open to learn about the idea.
A union spokesperson told our sister station in Seattle, King 5, that this could potentially help with teacher burnout as well. However, there are other obstacles that you have to work around, like student athletes and summer jobs.